Hello, my name is Mark. I'm the author and copyright holder of all works presented on this channel, Dramas, Dreams, and Drollery. Unfortunately, I do not have for you today a truly Christmas story, but I do have one that projects the Christmas spirit. I hope you enjoy it. Here is The Masterpiece. Orina Hutch lived alone. That is, if you didn't count Straggler, the stray cat she'd found one day in the alleyway behind her apartment. Straggler was an ugly creature, mostly gray with streaks of black and brown. A thin body and a torn ear, suggestive of some great trauma, had persuaded Orina to take him into her home. She, whose right cheek bore a huge and hideous birthmark, saw the animal as a mirror image of herself. Home was the Royal Apartments, a dilapidated structure in the worst part of Jackson, Mississippi. According to some city officials, the building merited condemnation. Many people called it a fire trap. Orina shuddered every time she heard such talk. She wasn't worried about the risks of living there, but she greatly feared being evicted. Where else could she possibly go? No place in Jackson had lower rents. A meager pension barely sustained the woman now. As far back as Orina could remember, her family had always been poor. Didn't God make all black people poor? Grandpa Ben and Grandma Tilly had eked out a living as sharecroppers. Until the age of 12, Orina had worked in the fields alongside her folks. Never once had she set foot inside a schoolroom. Near the end of the First World War, the family moved to Jackson. In the city, Pa found work as a janitor and Ma as a dishwasher. Within a year, a flu epidemic carried away little brother and sister. Not much later, pneumonia felled Ma. For the next 8 years, Orina had only Pa to cling to. But one night, he staggered home drunk, and a truck cut him down. At age 22, the last Hutch was on her own. For 30 years, Orina scrubbed floors and walls in an upscale Jackson hotel until she fell down some stairs and severely injured her back. Disabled for life, she received as compensation a small pension and a certificate of appreciation for services rendered. The tiny income forced her to take lodging at the Royal Apartments, an unsavory but affordable address in the most notorious quarter of Jackson. Now, in 1964, at age 59, the diminutive woman suffered from osteoporosis and depression. Pain in her crooked back provided a perpetual reminder of the ailment and of the injury that had ended her working career. Without friends, goals, or special interests, Orina shuffled listlessly through life. Most of her time passed in the quiet confines of the apartment. She feared the streets with their vice and crime. Lacking a radio or television, she spent hours with Straggler. On rare occasions, she risked a visit to Hadley Park. One Friday, in the month of March, Orina's life took a turn for the worse. Leaving the hotel, she had advanced only half a block toward the market when a black boy, 10 or 12 years old, snatched the purse from her hand. The woman realized instantly the gravity of the loss. Her entire wealth had vanished. It was only the 6th of the month. The next pension check would arrive on the 31st. Although she had already paid the rent, her life was in jeopardy. Illiterate, unemployed, and unaware of public assistance programs, Irina rushed back to her apartment in despair. She took stock of the food supply. On the kitchen shelf rested a can of tomato soup, a can of black beans, a few slices of bread, 2 cans of cat food, some coffee, sugar, and salt. That was it. The milk had run out that morning. The thought of seeking outside aid never crossed the woman's mind. All life long she had managed on her own. This problem was hers to solve. But the problem seemed insoluble. She had nothing of value to sell or pawn. The food would not last until the end of the month, no matter how hard she tried to stretch it. Irina feared more for Straggler than for herself. The animal was the one thing in the whole world that had saved her from insanity. She didn't want it to suffer. By the 12th of the month, the food had run out. Early that morning, Irina drank several glasses of water to fill her stomach. By 9, she was feeling hungry. When Straggler began to cry, the woman knew that it was time to act. She sat in a rocking chair and placed the creature in her lap. While gently pushing back and forth, she caressed its back and whispered soft words in its good ear. After half an hour, she carried outdoors the cat, a blanket, and the 2 quarters that had lain for months on the kitchen table. Ignoring the prostitutes and drug dealers on the street, she searched for Willie, a teenage boy who always hung around the alleyway. She found him leaning against a wall, smoking a cigarette. Would you like to make 50 cents? What I gotta do? Kill my cat? Irina paused to suppress tears. But I want you to do it in a special way. Smother him with this blanket. Then don't make him suffer. Just hold the blanket over his face till he stops moving. You understand? When he's dead, bury him someplace. Don't just throw him in the alley. Irina returned to the apartment, threw herself on the bed, and sobbed for an hour. Weak from starvation and exhausted from the emotional strain, she finally fell into a deep sleep, from which she didn't awaken until the following morning. Her first thoughts the next day were about Straggler. Managing to hold back a wave of emotion, she then reflected upon her own plight. It was a hopeless situation. A bitter decision had to be made. She could take her own life or slowly starve to death. Those were the only options. In the quiet of Hadley Park, she would decide. Irina left the hotel at a sluggish pace, scarcely cognizant of the world around her. At the entrance to the alleyway, however, she was jolted back to reality, aware that the cat's life with her had started and ended at that sight. The woman couldn't resist glancing in that direction. With horror, she discovered that the boy had not fully obeyed instructions. There in the alleyway lay Straggler's body, covered with flies. Irina ran to it, crying freely. She picked up the blanket that lay on the ground nearby and wrapped the animal. Then, while weeping and talking to the dead creature, she walked to Hadley Park. On a bench, she rocked the cat in her lap as if it were a baby. An hour passed, during which passers-by stared at this tiny black woman who seemed to be crying over her infant. Irina saw none of them. Eventually, the tears and the rocking stopped, but the sitter remained on the bench, clutching the cat and gazing at empty space. Some distance away, another black woman entered the park. Plump, dark-skinned Roxanne Williams walked rapidly despite a congenital limp. Her cherubic face displayed a wide smile, which reflected her confident, extroverted personality. Greeting every person along the path, whether friend or stranger, she seemed at peace with the world. At Irina's bench, she uttered a loud, "Good morning." The lack of a reply brought her to an abrupt halt. When a second "good morning" elicited no response, Roxanne leaned toward the seated figure and asked, "What's the matter, honey? Cat got your tongue?" Somewhere in the fog of her mind, Irina heard the word cat. She clutched the animal in her lap a little tighter and saw the smiling face of Roxanne Williams. "My cat's dead," Irina mumbled in a low, sad voice. Puzzled, Roxanne replied, "Well, then I can't get your tongue." Expressionless, the woman on the bench looked down on the ground. "Where is your cat?" Slowly, Irina uncovered the blanket to reveal the dead animal. "Sure is an ugly cat." These words offended Irina. Who would make such unkind remarks about Straggler? "I guess it's just about as ugly as you," the stranger continued. Irina could not believe her ears. Was the woman trying to pick a fight? "That sure is a nasty scar on your face. All those bumps and lines. If you colored it green, it'd look just like a pickle. I think I'm going to call you Pickle Face. Yeah, that's a good name for you." Irina was so shocked that she didn't know what to say. In her whole life, no one had talked to her that way. Most people who saw the birthmark for the first time looked the other way. Only a few children expressed disgust. What did this woman want? "Well, Pickle Face, you'd better do something with your cat. It won't do to let it sit here attracting flies. Let's go find a place to bury it. A park is perfect for that. It's peaceful and quiet like a cemetery. And you can come to visit anytime you want." Roxanne grabbed the cat in its blanket and began to walk away. Over her shoulder, she commanded the woman on the bench to follow her. Concerned about Straggler, Irina was forced to obey. "Where are we going?" "On the other side of the park is a shed where workmen keep tools. They must have a shovel." So swiftly did Roxanne move that Irina nearly had to run in order to keep up. The shed had a sign posted on the door. "Park employees only. Trespassers will be prosecuted." Irina couldn't read the sign, but she suspected that it warned against unauthorized entry. When Roxanne opened the door and removed a shovel, she felt obliged to speak. Is we supposed to do this?" "Absolutely. It's what God wants." Irina didn't understand, but she remained silent and followed the leader to a patch of bare earth beside a flower bed. "What do you think? Is this okay?" "Yes," Irina timidly replied. After the burial, the cat's mistress turned and started to walk away. Roxanne called her back. "Aren't you going to say a prayer?" Having had no experience with churches or prayers, Irina didn't know how to respond. She took it for granted that God existed, but she knew nothing about communicating with him. "What's I supposed to say?" "Tell God about your cat." Irina thought for a long while before speaking. "Mr. God, this here is my cat, Straggler. He was a good cat. He never hurt nothing or nobody. He doesn't have a bad life. Please treat him good." When she had finished, Irina looked at Roxanne, hoping for a signal to indicate that she had done the job properly. Instead, the woman asked her a question. "Will you do me a favor?" Irina was surprised that this woman requested favors. She seemed like the sort of person who took what she wanted without asking permission. Before Irina could reply, the woman spoke again. I'm going to lunch, and I hate to eat alone. Would you come along and eat with me? The word lunch certainly captured Irina's attention, but almost as quickly as she embraced it, she let it go. To Roxanne, she said, "Sorry, but I left all my money in the apartment." "Well, where we're going, you don't need money if you're smart." "You mean you don't have to pay?" "That's right. Let me explain it to you. I'm actually a very wealthy woman. I could pay if I wanted to. But when you're smart, you can find ways of getting things without paying." You mean by stealing?" No, that's not it. Just come with me and you'll see. We've got to walk a long way, but think how much money we're saving if we don't have to pay for food. That's how I got rich." Irina didn't understand how a person could get free food, yet this woman seemed to know what she was doing. So Irina remained silent and followed. They walked more than a mile in the direction of downtown. Suffering from malnutrition, the older woman was feeling wobbly by the time they reached the destination. It was a large white church with a huge banner that proclaimed Salvation Hall. They walked around the side of the building to a rear entrance. Along the wall, 40 or 50 people, mostly black or brown-skinned, stood in a line. About 50 feet from the queue, Roxanne told her companion, "Wait here just a minute." Then, advancing alone to the group, she greeted most of the people in line. Irina couldn't hear the conversation, but it was clear that Roxanne knew these people well. She wondered what her new friend was whispering into the ear of the lady in the white apron. Irina felt a little apprehensive when Roxanne said, "Come on now, let's get in line." Would they really give food to a penniless woman like her? She grew more tense as the line shortened. Then she could smell the food. Entering the building, Irina saw ahead of her 2 large tables. People in white aprons were distributing plates with hot dogs, corn on the cob, coleslaw, and apple pie. Sure enough, the 2 of them got trays of food and no one asked for money. When they were seated at a table and had begun to eat, the newcomer had to ask the question that troubled her. "How'd you get him to give us the free food?" Looking around as though wishing to avoid being overheard, her companion whispered a reply, "I tricked them. I said that we were members of the Heroes Club." "Heroes Club? What's that?" "Here in Jackson, they have a special club just for people who are heroes. You know, people who've done something very brave. There's a law in this city which says that if you are an official hero, you can get free food at lots of places. This is one of them. I've been coming here for a couple of months now. The first day I came, I told them I was an official hero. Now everybody knows me and calls me by name. They don't even ask to see my badge." While the women ate, a white man in jeans and a t-shirt stood up in front of the gathering. "Welcome to Salvation Hall, brothers and sisters," he said. "Let us bow our heads in prayer." Irina noticed that everyone, including Roxanne, had stopped eating, so she stopped too. "Dear Lord," the man continued, "please forgive us for being miserable sinners. Sustain us with your daily bread and lead us to the light. Fill our hearts with your goodness and show us the way to your kingdom. Amen." The audience repeated, "Amen." So Irina did too. When everyone resumed eating, the visitor looked to her guide for an explanation. Roxanne smiled. "Isn't that great?" she said. "This place even provides entertainment, uplifting stuff." Irina didn't understand. Why had that man called them all miserable sinners? Maybe it was from him that the woman across the table had learned to make rude remarks, such as calling her pickle face. Despite her great hunger, Irina ate slowly. She was taking her first bite of corn when Roxanne finished her meal. Drinking some water, the younger woman suddenly burst into laughter. "I have a good idea," she said. "People here don't know you yet. With a proper introduction, you'll be accepted by everybody from now on." Not waiting to see Irina's reaction, Roxanne stood up and walked to the spot from which the prayer had been issued. "Give me your attention, everyone. You probably don't know it, but we have in our midst a great celebrity, the famous Wilma Olivia Wilcox." Roxanne pointed to Irina and applauded. Onlookers joined in the applause. The speaker continued. "Some of you may be too young to remember the story. It was headline news 15 or 20 years ago. This brave woman, only 5 feet tall, went into a burning high-rise in Detroit and saved the lives of 6 people. One by one, she carried them out through smoke and falling beams at great risk to her life. Though utterly exhausted, she went back one last time to drag out a fireman who'd been overcome by smoke. Imagine this tiny woman pulling a large man to safety. On her face today, you can see the scars she bears. And her back, you probably thought it was bent by osteoporosis. No, it broke, bearing the weight of that huge fireman. When the President of the United States awarded her the National Medal of Honor, you know what this woman did with the medal? She sold it to raise money for the orphans of the fire. I hope none of you will ever forget the name of Wilma Olivia Wilcox. By the way, did you get those initials? W-O-W. Wow, what a woman!" Instantly, well-wishers surrounded Irina. All said how proud they were of her heroic sacrifice and how honored they were to meet her. One man said he remembered seeing the incident on television. The serving staff of Salvation Hall expressed their hope that Wilma would come back. Irina was delighted but embarrassed by this attention. Too shy to speak out against the story, she had simply listened in silence. But outside the building later, she mildly challenged her companion. "What you say back there wasn't true. It was all lies." "No, lies are words meant to do harm. My words were said to bring joy and happiness. God spoke through me." The women walked in silence all the way back to Hadley Park, mentally reviewing what had transpired on this extraordinary day. Irina didn't even feel fatigue. At the park, the pair sat on a bench. Suddenly, Irina made a startling discovery. "Lordy, I don't even know your name." "Roxanne Williams. And what is your name?" "Irina Hutch." "Okay, Irina, pleased to meet you. But don't forget, when we go for lunch tomorrow, your name is Wilma Olivia Wilcox." "You means we's going back again tomorrow?" "Of course. I'll meet you at this bench at 9. By the way, here are a couple of apples. I sneaked them off a counter in the kitchen. That way you won't have to go to all the bother and expense of cooking tonight." Waving goodbye, Irina smiled for the first time in 4 years. The next morning, Irina got up at sunrise. Normally, inertia and indifference to life kept her in bed until 8. But on this day, she felt some excitement. It was as if something important was about to happen. Mentally, she relived the previous day's events. What fun it had been to have people congratulate her for bravery, and imagine fooling them into giving free food. Irina still had reservations about her rude companion, the one who had called her pickle face, Could a body trust someone as mean and tricky as that? Time seemed to pass slowly. When the proper hour arrived, Irina nearly ran to the park. She had questions to ask that woman, but Roxanne spoke before she could utter the words. Good morning. Good morning. I've got something for you, a little surprise. A surprise for me? From her purse, Roxanne took out a card and handed it to Irina. What's this? It's a Heroes Club membership card, and it has your name on it. Well, that is the name of Wilma Olivia Wilcox. Is it real? No, but it looks real. Nobody will know the difference. Anyone who sees it will think you're an official member of the club. Keep it with you at all times, but show it only when it's absolutely necessary. Irina didn't understand why she shouldn't exhibit the card openly. She liked the idea of having people know that she was a member. Perhaps seeing her get so much attention from the group at lunch had made Roxanne feel a little jealous. Suddenly, Irina thought of the question she wanted to ask. You said you was a rich lady. Where does you live? In a mansion outside the city. It has 26 rooms. There are 8 bedrooms and 10 bathrooms. Does your family have lots of diarrhea? Roxanne laughed. No. What's all them other rooms for? Special functions. One room is a fully equipped gym. I love the rings and parallel bars. Irina wondered how a woman of Roxanne's amplitude could maneuver on rings and bars, but she said nothing. I really love my music room with its Steinway grand piano. Does you play the piano? No, but great musicians sometimes come to the house and give concerts. Is you married? I was married to a count, but they called him back to his country to be the king. I didn't want to be the queen of a foreign country, so I divorced him. I always joke that my husband doesn't count anymore. Roxanne gave a hearty laugh. So you lives alone in that great big house? Yes, of course I have a dozen servants to care for the place. Don't you get bored all alone like that? Yes, that's why I come here to the city so much. Don't you never do no work? I'm an artist. I devote many of my free hours to art. Does you paint? No, I'm a different kind of artist. You might say that I'm a soul artist. It's hard to explain. If God is willing, I'll show you one day. So what are we going to do now? It's not time for lunch yet. Well, I like to play games. Do you? I don't know. It's been a long time since I done did that. One of the games I like best is called You Never Know. How you plays it? Instead of telling you, I'll demonstrate. Come with me. Roxanne walked rapidly down the path with Irina scurrying to keep up. Ahead was a bench upon which, stretched out in slumber, lay an elderly white man with a long white beard. Knobby knees protruded through his soiled, torn pants. Roxanne stopped beside the bench and observed the man for a moment. He was snoring loudly. My, said the observer. She bent over and tickled the subject under the chin. Reflexively pawing at his neck, the victim continued to sleep. Irina was alarmed. She pictured the man arising and punching her and her companion. Roxanne certainly had no fear. She repeated the tickling, but with greater force. Abruptly, the man sat up and rubbed his eyes. Before he could speak, the black woman explained what had happened. Pointing to some nearby bushes, Roxanne said, "He went that way." Who? What?" asked the dazed man. "The coyote." "The coyote?" "Yes, a coyote was trying to bite your throat. I saw him just in time and chased him away." "You did? Well, thanks. I guess you saved my life. What's your name?" "Roxanne. And this is my friend Wilma Wilcox. She's already a big hero. She told me to save you so I could get some credit." Can you imagine these park people letting coyotes run around freely in broad daylight? What if it had attacked a little child? Later, in a different part of the park, Roxanne said to her friend, "Wasn't that fun?" But humans react in different ways, so you take your chances when you play, you never know. They played 3 more rounds of the game that morning. Each reprise unfolded a little differently, but each had a pleasant ending. Roxanne did all the tickling. Irina didn't dare. Yet the observer enjoyed the sport as much as the player. At Salvation Hall, everyone was delighted to see the return of the celebrity. Irina got nearly as much attention as she had received on the previous day. One man who met her for the first time requested an autograph. Roxanne shooed him away, saying that excessive autograph signing had sprained the heroine's wrist, so he must ask again another day. Lunch consisted of spaghetti, carrot sticks, rolls, and ice cream bars. On the walk back to Hadley Park, Irina marveled at the fancy cooking. She thrilled to hear her companion describe the feasts at Thanksgiving and Christmas. When they were seated on a bench, Roxanne took out a paper pad and a pencil. For the next hour, she made Irina practice writing the letters W and O. Then she instructed her friend to write W-O-W on paper when anyone requested an autograph. For the remainder of the afternoon, the 2 women played Traveler. Roxanne explained the rules. Each of them was to pretend to be a traveler in a foreign land. Using fists as phones, they would discuss their experiences with each other. To prepare for the first game, Roxanne described the nations of France and Australia. Of course, the older woman struggled to grasp the information. Here's an excerpt from the initial game. "Hello, this is Roxanne. I'm in the country of France. Who is this? Don't you remember? I's Irina." "Where are you, Irina?" "Australia." "What are you doing?" I'm riding my kangaroo to school." "Where's the school?" "I don't know. You didn't teach me that." "Oh, now I remember. It's down under." "Down under?" "Yes'm. Down under the table, I guess." It was raining when Irina awoke the next morning. She felt terribly disappointed. Probably Roxanne wouldn't go to the park on a day like this. Nevertheless, the tiny woman made her way there just in case. Spotting her friend on the bench in the rain brought out a big smile, which Roxanne noted. "You better watch out," she kidded. "If you keep smiling like that, the officials are going to make you pay the smiling tax." Instantly, Irina's face turned sober. "I didn't know about the tax," she confessed. Roxanne laughed. "I was just joking," she said. "Smile all you want. That's a sign that everything is okay." "But it's not okay. We can't do nothing in this weather." "Sure we can. This is perfect weather for puddle dancing." "Puddle dancing? How are we going to do that?" "It's simple, just the way it sounds. Let's go find a nice big puddle." "I see a good one over there." Roxanne walked to a depression in the lawn where water had collected. Irina followed. "Perfect." said Roxanne while removing her shoes. With an intimidating look, she induced her companion to follow suit. I like to sing when I puddle dance, said the younger woman. Do you know any good songs? Mind you, they need be lively. It won't do to puddle dance to waltzes. On those when the saints come marching in. Sing it loud, pickle face. Roxanne leaped into the puddle and began to dance rapidly, kicking her legs high and singing at the top of her voice. Irina watched in open-mouthed wonder. What are you waiting for? Asked the dancer. Get in here. Irina stepped into the water and moved her feet slowly. Sing, shouted Roxanne. The tiny woman sang in a weak voice. Louder, shouted Roxanne. You gotta shake the leaves off the trees. The idea of breaking down leaves by singing made Irina laugh. Roxanne took her companion's hands and increased the tempo of the dance. Irina hadn't had so much exercise in years. Feeling dizzy, she stumbled once or twice, and without the assistance of the younger woman, would certainly have fallen. After a mere 3 minutes of activity, Irina came to a halt. She erupted into laughter. Lordy, I ain't done nothing like that for a long, long time. With the park empty of people and their clothing thoroughly soaked, the women felt at ease to lie on the lawn. The rain beat gently on their faces. Several minutes of silence passed before Roxanne spoke. What do you want to do with your life, Irina? What do you mean? Do you have plans to be somebody or to do something special? No, I's a nobody, and I ain't got nothing. Nonsense. You can be anybody you want to be, and you don't have to have money to become that person. Oh, it's easy for a rich lady like you to say. You're wrong. Money can get in the way. Oh, you don't know all the problems that we rich people have. To protect our wealth, we must hire bodyguards and install security devices because all the bad people of the world want to rob us. Worse yet, we worry about kidnappers who pursue us and our families. And then there are the accountants and lawyers who manage our finances and overcharge us. And there are even more lawyers who want to sue us. Sometimes things get so bad, I want to give all my money away. Why do you think I spend so much time here in the city? I want to get away from all those troubles. Troubles? I can't imagine you with troubles. Oh, everybody's got troubles. We just can't let them get us down. Deep down inside, we all have the power to overcome them. We can do anything and be anything that we want. You really think so? I know so. A minute ago, I asked you what you plan to do with your life, but you didn't answer. Think about it a while and tell me. I don't know. If God let me, I'd be something special, like a doctor. You want to be a doctor? Why not? Want to be a doctor this afternoon? Let's both be doctors this afternoon. Irina perked up at this announcement, but she didn't take the suggestion seriously. She assumed that her friend would propose a doctor game. And that's just what her friend had in mind, but the game was not at all like the one Irina had imagined. After lunch at Salvation Hall, Roxanne started walking in a direction away from Hadley Park. Irina was puzzled. Where are we going? You'll see, replied her friend. 3 blocks later, Roxanne entered a large building. Until she was inside, Irina had no idea where they were. Then she knew at once. We's in a hospital, she exclaimed in surprise. What we doing here? She asked. Roxanne replied, We're here to be doctors. Just come with me. The younger woman walked down a long corridor until she reached the door with a sign that read, Medical staff only. Unable to decipher the message, Irina nevertheless suspected that entry was forbidden. She uttered an "uh-oh" when her companion opened the door. Glancing around inside the room, Roxanne decided that this was not the room she wanted. After another false start further down the corridor, she located an office that served her purpose. From a hook on the door of this third room, Roxanne took 2 white lab coats, one of which she handed to her partner. Then she removed the papers from a clipboard on a desk and replaced them with a blank pad of paper. Handing the clipboard and a pencil to Irina, she asked her companion to give her the Heroes Club badge. On its blank side, Roxanne printed, "Temporary badge, Dr. Wilma Wilcox." While affixing this emblem to her friend's lab coat, Roxanne gave the bewildered woman some instructions. "We're going to walk around this hospital. As we move, make some marks on the pad, just as though you were writing something. If I say anything to you, wait until I finish. And then you say to me, 'Very good, Dr. Williams.' Try to look serious when you talk." Roxanne smiled and said in a whisper, "This is going to be fun." For a trial run, the adventurous one selected Wing H of the hospital. The 2 women paraded up and down its corridor for 20 minutes. Now and then, Dr. Williams gave instructions which Dr. Wilcox recorded on a pad. Every time the former finished speaking, the latter declared, "Very good, Dr. Williams." Eventually, Roxanne decided that her companion was ready to play in a wider setting. Seeing a nurse emerge from room 119, she scurried down the hall and peeked into that room. An elderly Asian woman lay in a bed. No one else was around. Pushing open the door, Roxanne motioned for Irina to follow. At the edge of the bed, the bold leader spoke in an authoritarian manner. "Well, how's the patient today?" The prostrate woman gave a look of surprise. Where's Dr. Hanson?" she asked. "Oh, he's busy with another matter at the moment. How are you feeling?" Don't you mean she?" Of course, just a slip of the tongue." "I'm feeling a little sore. Could you please give me something for the pain?" "I'm sorry, but Dr. Hanson will have to do that. Dr. Wilcox, make a note of that request." "Very good, Dr. Williams." As the imposter returned to the hallway, Roxanne said, "Playing doctor is fun, but I can see how we might get ourselves into a really tight spot." At that moment, paramedics pushed open the door at the end of the hallway. Accompanied by a nurse, they were wheeling a patient on a gurney. There was a sense of urgency in their actions. Taking Irina by the arm, the nurse pleaded, "You doctors must help at once. We've paged Dr. Jesperson, but he doesn't respond. This is code red." Observing the patient, the pretend doctors noted several gashes on a man's arms and chest. His shirt was drenched in blood. Scurrying alongside the gurney, Roxanne now knew how tight a spot they could get into. To admit the truth might have a painful consequence for her and Irina, but with a man's life at stake, what else could she do? Just as Roxanne opened her mouth to speak, a man clad in a white coat like hers came dashing down the hall. Seeing him, the nurse exclaimed, "Ah, Dr. Jesperson, thank God. And thank you, doctors, for your willingness to help." Saved from a near disaster, the imposters took off their lab coats, tossed them along with the clipboard and pen onto an empty chair, and exited the hospital with dispatch. Walking back to Hadley Park, Roxanne made a confession. "I went too far this time. From now on, neither you nor I should take such risks. But don't give up your plan to become a doctor." "You know, I don't think I wants to be no doctor after seeing all that blood. That doesn't change my mind." At 9 the next morning, Irina was sitting on the bench in Hadley Park. 10 minutes passed. She began to worry. Her friend was always on time. At a quarter past the hour, Roxanne entered the park. From a distance, the older woman noticed that the younger woman seemed to step slow and a degree lower in spirit. She watched the advancing figure return a greeting from the white man with the beard instead of proffering it first, as she always did. "Morning, Roxanne." It seemed odd to Irina to open the conversation. "Good morning, Pickle Face. Sorry I'm late." Was there pain in that voice, thought Irina? "How you feeling?" "Not so well, but I'll be okay soon. Today we're going to the zoo." The zoo? Never having been in a zoo, Irina felt uncomfortable. "That's where they has all them wild critters." "Oh, you don't have to worry about them. They're in cages." "But that zoo must be expensive." "Not for us. They're going to let us in free." "They is?" "Sure, you're a hero, remember? When we get to the entrance, just hold up your Heroes Club badge." Where is the zoo?" "That's a problem for us. It's way on the other side of the city. Of course, I could have my chauffeur take us in the limousine, but I'd prefer to walk. Walking is good exercise. I was thinking that we could walk to Salvation Hall and have lunch, and then walking the rest of the way after lunch won't seem so long. The real problem will be coming back, but I'll think of something." A large banner hung over the entrance to the zoo. It said, "Free admission, second Friday of the month." Going through the turnstile, Irina flashed her Heroes Club badge at a bewildered zoo employee. Feeling nervous, the first-time visitor quickly learned the pleasure of viewing wild animals that were under control. Her favorite creatures were the seals and the wallabies. Outside the baboon cage, the two women stood beside a middle-aged couple of color. All four humans were enjoying the hilarious antics of the simians. After laughing together and exchanging comments about the animals, they introduced themselves. By coincidence, Rupert and Hattie Oliver lived near Irina Hutch, and when the Olivers learned that their new friends lacked transportation home, they offered to provide it. Delighted to receive a free ride, Irina nevertheless sighed when the four of them left the zoo. Observing the wildlife had been a unique and enjoyable experience. In the car, the talk continued to center on animals. Rupert told the new acquaintance that he and his wife were planning a Saturday visit to relatives on a farm outside the city. Mention of the farm brought Irina to life. "I ain't been to no farm for a long time. Long time. When I was young, me and Pa and Ma and little brother and sister all lived on a farm." Hattie gently nudged the arm of her husband, who was driving the car. He nodded slightly without saying a word. How'd you ladies like to go to the farm with us tomorrow?" asked Hattie. From the expression on her companion's face, Roxanne knew that she was taking no liberties by responding, "We'd be delighted." The visit to the farm proved more than a pleasant experience to Irina. It brought back many joyous memories of her childhood. She loved the ducks and pigs. There were even two cats, one of which resembled Straggler. After dinner, Irina placed that one on her lap and caressed it for an hour. Uncle Henry Oliver, his wife Nellie, and their 5 children were a hearty and happy family. They welcomed visitors with open arms and gave them a tour of the farm. And what a feast for dinner! Roast pork, sweet potatoes, black-eyed peas, dumplings, and a special homemade pudding. Irina could not recall a meal as grand as that. When it came time to leave, she wiped tears from her eyes as she joined in the hugs and laughter. On the way home, she told her friend that she wanted to be an animal doctor. At Roxanne's request, the companions did not meet until 11 on Sunday morning. They walked straight to Salvation Hall for dinner. Observing the custom of the establishment, they attended church services after the meal. Irena comprehended little of the sermon, but she enjoyed the hymns. Later, Roxanne took her to a museum, admission free, of course, where they viewed various archaeological exhibits. A large dinosaur skeleton intimidated Irena a bit. When the two friends met at Hadley Park on Monday morning, Roxanne appeared to be very tired. Dismissing Irena's concerns, the younger woman announced the program of the day. "This morning we're playing school. I'm the teacher and you're the student." Taking out paper and pencil, she showed Irena how to print and pronounce the letters of the alphabet. Within days, the pupil had mastered much of it. Within a month, she was reading at second grade level. Roxanne interspersed games with the formal lessons to avert boredom. As an incentive to learn, she told Irena that animal doctors needed to write reports and to read instructional manuals. When writing skills reached a sufficient level, the teacher had her student compose letters to Henry and Nellie Oliver. By this time, the companions were also paying visits in town to Rupert and Hattie Oliver. During these months of association with Roxanne, Irena's happiness and self-confidence grew along with her intellect. But one Monday morning, she came to Hadley Park rather dejected. Roxanne noted the melancholy at once. "What's troubling you, Pickleface?" "They's going to tear down my apartment building. Us folks that lives there gotta leave within 90 days. "Oh, that's nothing to bother about, unless your place is really fancy." "No, 'tain't nothing special, but where I gonna live?" "We'll find some. Don't worry about it." Roxanne seemed to have the solution to every problem. Normally, a word of assurance from the woman was all that it took to put Irena's mind to rest. But on this occasion, Irena could not rest. The problem seemed huge and insoluble, not something to be brushed aside easily. When Roxanne pulled out a pad and pencil, the troubled woman said she didn't feel like learning. For half an hour, the pair sat on the bench in silence. Abruptly, Irena asked, "Did you ever notice that in this park, folks mostly sits by themselves? Once in a while, you sees a couple kissing or a family playing with each other, but mostly it's single people sitting all by themselves. I think they's lonely 'cause this is a lonely world." "No, I didn't notice that. But now when I look around, I see that you're right. Looks like to me like we should play the game, Where's Mrs. Wimple?" "How do you play that game?" "You'll see. But first I gotta get something. Just wait here." Irena waited impatiently. She was very curious to learn the game. 40 minutes elapsed before the return of her friend. Roxanne explained, "I went to a hotel and got an envelope from the lobby. Note that it bears the hotel's name, Atlantis." What you gonna do with that?" "Just watch." On a piece of paper, Roxanne drew various graphic symbols. Not recognizing a single mark, Irena was puzzled. After her companion had written Mrs. Wimple on the envelope and sealed the paper inside, the older woman asked, "What that letter say?" "Absolutely nothing. What I wrote is all nonsense. But I'm going to use it to play the game." Roxanne stood up and walked straight to a bench upon which was seated a middle-aged woman in business attire. "Excuse me, ma'am, About 5 minutes ago, a strange man with a big accent give us this note. He say he must find Mrs. Wimple at once. They's going to kill her brother unless she do something immediately. He says the letter is written in a code that Mrs. Wimple understand. You must be the lady, so here's the note. Roxanne threw the envelope in the woman's lap and walked away rapidly with Irina right behind her. At a safe distance, the two players concealed themselves behind bushes to observe their victim's reaction. The bewildered woman studied the envelope front and back. Noting the name Atlantis Hotel, she thought briefly of taking the object there. After some delay, she opened the envelope. In hiding, Roxanne giggled and told Irina, "We've got her." For the next 10 minutes, the perplexed businesswoman studied the strange symbols from various angles. Then she folded the paper once more and put it back in the envelope. Glancing at a watch, she got up suddenly and walked rapidly to a stranger on another bench. Roxanne and Irina saw her speak to the man and then hand him the envelope. Soon the man was repeating the woman's behavior. Like her, he eventually returned the paper to the envelope and passed it on to another person. Roxanne and Irina laughed at every transfer. After 5 rounds, one woman tore up the letter and threw it on the grass. As they walked to Salvation Hall, Roxanne said out loud, "I wonder if we connected any wires." Irina had no idea what she meant. On Tuesday, Roxanne reached the park 45 minutes late. She seemed to possess less energy than on the previous day. "Morning, Roxanne." "Morning, Roxanne. Is you sick?" "Good morning, pickle face. Yes, I'm not feeling very well. Maybe I've been working too hard." "Doing what?" My masterpiece. You remember, I told you that I'm an artist." "I'd sure like to see your work." "It's not finished, but it's coming along nicely." "What are we going to do today?" Having difficulty in breathing, Roxanne paused for a minute before answering. "Today is Pincushion Day." "You know what a pincushion is, don't you?" "Sure enough." "Well, it's like this. I've known you now for a few months. Almost every day has been wonderful, full of fun and surprises. Don't you agree?" "Certainly. But life isn't always that way. Every now and then we need a little pain to remind us of reality. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to a place where they'll stick us full of needles, just as if we were pincushions. It'll hurt a little, but not too bad. The experience will make us tougher and more appreciative of what we have. Actually, you're going to come out of this better than anyone. I've told the people where we're going that you are an official hero. They've agreed to put a magic potion on the needle that will protect you from disease. Isn't that wonderful?" Having magic potions ward off disease sounded good to Irina, but she feared the needle. When the women entered the public health center in downtown Jackson, the older noticed its similarity to a hospital. Roxanne told her that the white coats worn by the people with the needles were uniforms used to play the game of pincushion. As Irina bared her arm, she showed one of the nurses her Heroes Club badge and whispered, "I's the one." Mystified, the woman smiled and did her job. Walking back to Hadley Park, neither woman seemed to suffer adversely from the injections. Roxanne, however, moved at an abnormally slow pace. At their destination, she asked, "Would you mind terribly if we didn't do anything this afternoon? I have so little time in which to complete my masterpiece." Irina studied her companion. Something was seriously wrong. This was not the Roxanne she knew. Maybe I ought to see a doctor. You don't look well. Oh, don't worry. I have a personal physician who takes good care of me. It's just that I've been working extremely hard on my masterpiece. I've probably overdone it a bit. Does you mind if I ask you a personal question? It's something I've wondered about for a long time. I don't mind. Go ahead and ask. Your clothes don't look like no rich lady's clothes. All you ever wears is the same two outfits. Why is that? Pickleface, you didn't listen to me very carefully when I explained to you the hardships of wealth. Imagine for a moment what would happen if I came down here to Jackson every day in all my finery. Can you picture me driving up to your neighborhood in my limousine? My chauffeur would open the door, and out I'd come in my designer clothing, decorated with jewelry from head to foot. Don't you know that I'd be attacked at once by a band of thieves? If I want to do things like ordinary people, I have to do them in disguise. That's why I dress as I do. Consider the outfits you see me in as my two costumes. Now at home, it's quite a different matter. You should see me at night after my bath in a pink lace evening gown designed by Mario, the famous Madrid designer, lounging on an elegant settee imported from Sri Lanka. Sure must be nice. Irina smiled broadly, picturing the scene. Roxanne reached the park half an hour late on Wednesday morning. Breathing heavily, she sat down and paused to catch her breath before attempting to speak. Irina observed her with concern. Finally, Roxanne smiled. Good morning, Pickleface. Morning, Roxanne. I have big news. Some is bad and some is good. I'll begin with the bad. You remember I told you about my former husband, the Count? Well, he's back from Europe. Last night he got down on his knees and begged me to go live with him in Europe. He was crying like a baby. What could I say? I told him that I would go with him at once. That means that today will be our final day together, and I won't be back to America for a long, long time. Don't look so sad, Pickleface. Remember that I'm going to be living in paradise. Please don't cry. You haven't heard the good news yet. I didn't want to say anything about this until it was all settled, but now I can. Remember the wonderful Oliver folks from the farm? Well, they want you to go live with them. They say they expect you to take care of their sick animals. Of course, you'll have to learn to read better so you can learn all about how animal doctors work. The Olivers are going to drop by your place with their truck a week from Friday to pick you up and all your things. What do you think of that? Irina held Roxanne in a tight embrace while tears rolled down her cheeks. Roxanne fought hard to control her own emotions. Finally, Irina said, You say he's gone to paradise, but I think you comes from there. You is an angel. For the next week, Irina went to Hadley Park every morning at 9, although her friend wasn't there. At 11, she walked to Salvation Hall for lunch. She felt the spirit of Roxanne wherever she went. Sometimes, while seated on a bench in the park, Irina would suddenly burst into laughter, recalling past experiences with her friend. When passers-by stared, she greeted them with a hearty "good morning" or "good afternoon." On the final day, before she was to go to the farm with the Olivers, Irina was seated on her usual bench in Hadley Park. The ragged old man that she and Roxanne had saved from the coyote got up from his bench and walked over to her. His face seemed unusually sad. I seen you over here, and I wanted to tell you how sorry I am. Sorry? What you mean? I heard about that friend of yours, the homeless lady. Somebody told me she collapsed and died on the sidewalk 2 days ago. What ya talking about? You's a bit confused. My friend is a rich lady. A week ago, she went to Europe. At this very moment, she's living in paradise.